Like, so, all right. What's up, everybody? It's Chuck, and you're watching the ITXP. What a shit show of a day I've had. So, I had all good intentions to start this broadcast. You see my green screen back here. I know it's shitty, but you know what? This is a low budget show. Plain and simple. I started off on a handheld Panasonic recording 10 years ago. You're lucky I have a green screen. But that's neither here nor there. My point being is I had well intentions to record this episode using OBS, which is I've been recording for the last 2 years now since I started going to YouTube on OBS. Great product, had no issues with it. This thing is bothering me. The creases, but anyway, I had all intentions of using OBS. I was actually using OBS when I was recording this in a new platform. I'll talk about that platform in a second. But I spent 3 hours trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And I keep looking down because this is now my third time recording just this portion of the show. All right, just this portion of the episode. Going back to OBS, I spent 3 hours. And now, if you're in technology, regardless of whether you're in a help desk or development or cybersecurity or things like that, troubleshooting is going to be something that you have to be well versed in. Whether you're starting off in the beginning, you probably don't know much of anything, but your goal is to figure out how to troubleshoot something, how to take something very complex and break it down to something that you can understand so you can fix the problem or change piece of code to make things more efficient and things like that. And when you start off, you don't know shit. You work your way on to higher levels of knowledge. And even then, when you get to the level, been working in this industry 27 years, I don't know everything, but I will ask the right questions to get down to the base point of what's going on. So I started OBS, started receiving these errors. I realized, I hadn't updated my video drivers in a while. I'm using an NVIDIA card. It's a 2060. I know. But it still didn't work. I did some troubleshooting on the OBS forums. I went to Reddit on the OBS forums, and nothing would work. Like nothing. I'm like, I changed different settings. I went to software encoding. I was like, oh, this is crappy. And it, not that I'm trying to produce a high quality show here, mind you. It's more about content, right, than quality. Although the content should be fairly good quality, but that's neither here nor there. The video portion of this is not something that I'm well versed in because this was always meant to be an audio show. But I decided to go to YouTube because I wanted to show certain things, which I'm going to get to in today's episode. But I was troubleshooting. 3 hours I spent on this freaking thing, and I just couldn't get it to work. So I said, what alternatives are there to recording a video broadcast for podcasts? And I have the full suite of Adobe products. Don't come at me, bro. Don't come at me. Many years of using Adobe products, okay? Many years. I started my business. I want to give back. So I'm giving back. Okay? So don't come at me. Yes, I know there's free things that you can leverage and things like that, but Adobe has been my go-to for decades, like literally decades of Adobe products. So if you followed my other shows about Usenet and things that I was able to obtain, now you know what I mean. So I look at Adobe and I was like, Adobe has some cool audio functionality for podcasts. But Premiere Pro, you have to already have recorded the thing. My problem is OBS is what I use to record the thing. It doesn't work. So what is out there? So I started looking at different solutions. And now I came across this product called Riverside. First time using it, third time recording this. I keep looking down because it's actually still recording. Shocking. It's like 4.5 minutes in. And of course, it's a SaaS solution. If you don't know what SaaS is, it's software as a service. They're supposed to be recording things locally and then uploading and then give you some technologies to clean things up. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I'm using this for the first time. You would think that I would trial run it before and do some tests. No, I'm giving you, as it happens, the feedback and the feature set and things like that, right? So I'm recording this green screen. I can't change this. I looked. I can't. That's a feature that people have been asking. I can't change this. Somebody said, hey, you can use OBS virtual camera. I did that. You know what happened? It was a blue screen. Not even a green screen. It was a blue screen. Okay, that didn't work. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'm not a bright guy. I'm not. Yeah, I have my MBA. Yeah, I'm getting my master's in management and leadership. Doesn't mean I'm very technical. Yeah, my CISSP. By the way, look what came in today. You see that? No, it's not going to focus in. It's my CISSP pin. So just goes to show you, I'm no dummy. So I started this episode on Riverside FM. Seems pretty cool. Hopefully it will clean things up as I navigate through the feature set. I'm using the free trial right now. You supposedly get 2 hours of video and audio. We'll see. I am going to use the Adobe podcast platform. It's just for the audio portion of this only. If you still listen to audio podcasts, I also have my podcast on everywhere podcasts are held. I use Libsyn, so it just blasts it out to everything. And we'll see the difference. But I'm using Riverside FM for now. We'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna like the way I share the screen. I do have some things I want to talk through because as I'm going through this progression in cloud, I want to show you how you can also start transitioning if you're not in cloud today. Whether you're in help desk, whether you're in project management, you still need to understand the core concept of cloud. I'm also going to give you some of my insights into my experiences transitioning from on-premises infrastructure to pure cloud and how people think on this side of the fence versus this side of the fence. And I think there's a happy medium in between the two with my experiences from on-premises to the cloud. And there are reasons around that that I will get to throughout the course of the show. So if you're interested in cloud and you're interested in multi-cloud, stick around. I think hopefully you'll pick up some things that may interest you. So I spent 3 hours trying to figure out, what the problem was. The problem I couldn't fix. I did everything except uninstall OBS, which I may wind up doing. But let's see how this platform goes. I'm not a big fan of spending another bill amount of money on another bill, but the cost is, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. There are things that I've been paying for from my LLC that have been pretty useful. If you followed my YouTube shorts that I've posted, those are all created by AI, obviously. But that same service that I'm using actually is now allowing me to upload my own voice so I can do the voiceovers on those videos. We'll see how it goes. It's still processing it. That was the first thing I did this morning. I just uploaded my voice profile to it, and it's processing it, right? Now, if you hear me on other videos, I didn't authorize that, so let me know, right? Go, yo, Chuck, they're using your voice. What's coincidentally, I had a colleague tell me that she actually heard my voice on a YouTube video, and she said, oh, it sounds awfully familiar. I'm like, it probably is, because my voice has been out there for 10 years. If somebody's crawling the internet, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But welcome to the episode. Apologies for the rant early on. It's just I've had a long day, long morning, and I really wanted to get this out because it's fresh in my mind on things that I wanted to talk about in terms of cloud and multi-cloud, and it's not an old topic. Excuse me, it's not a new topic. It's a relatively old topic that I think some people still misinterpret what the cloud is. And the reason I say this is, if you've heard my episodes, I'm going through a transition. In 2022, I transitioned to the cloud team. I was supposed to be more of a people manager for cloud engineering operations. That was scrapped 4 months in because I lost my team. A lot of politics going on, and I had to get back on, become hands on keyboard, which is fine. I talked to my new boss about this, and he's like, "No, you really should be hands on keyboard. I'm still hands on keyboard." I don't really agree with that. I think there needs to be separation from it. I understand his point of view because I still hold that close to home. I should understand what the team is doing, which I do and I always have. But I don't think that I should be hands on keyboard because that doesn't give other team members opportunities to grow. But I'm looking on really molding my working style into still being hands on keyboard, but allowing the more junior members, the more middle members room to grow, giving them the not the authority, but empowering them. That's the word I was looking for. Empowering them to be able to make decisions on their own and to grow, giving them that confidence to grow. That's what I've been all about. I've had many opportunities within my career for people to give me a chance to make mistakes. It's plain and simple. You need to be able to make mistakes, and I want to continue that pay it forward mindset. There are some folks that don't follow that mindset. I am a dying breed. I can tell you that right now. But we're still out there. Some of us, we're still out there, and hopefully, what you gain from here may help you make a decision on your path forward. It's a tough market out there. I understand that. I talked about overemployment for the past, I think, 2 episodes at this point, or episode and a half, and you're finding that a lot of folks that were at this level are probably coming down a level or two just so they can get work because it is a challenging market out there for the technology professionals. I don't care what technology space you're in, whether you're in sales, engineering, whatever, right? You're finding it challenging to get a job. And I talked about this last episode. A lot of this comes down to efficiencies. The companies that are laying off, yes, they're making money hand over fist. I wouldn't say hand over fist, but for the most part, they're making money. My own organization released um, the Q4 numbers, and it was very good. Um, but we've been doing more with less for at least the past 5 years from a corporate technology perspective. In some aspects of the business, they trimmed the fat, I think, 2 years ago at this point. Obviously, in 2020, they did the big culling, or maybe it was 2019, they did the big culling. 2022, there were some, not as big, but a smaller portion of the culling. And then departments or organizational units within the company did some layoffs here. So the company's been trimming the fat to become more efficient. I think that's what you're seeing now. Companies are looking to become more efficient, especially with the evolution of generative AI. Like, GitHub, Copilot for GitHub, right? Things like that are helping people become more productive in less amount of time. And I think that's what you're seeing. So now we have to understand, where those inefficiencies are and make them more efficient. And then once those become efficient and then the workload increases, then we start hiring more and more. But that's going to take time. That's going to take time because companies need to understand where those inefficiencies are. And you're going to get some probably consultants come in, the McKinseys and the E&Ys and things like that, and come in. It's like, oh, you're inefficient here. You got to do this. Got to do that. That's part of the game. But I think overall, there's still some prime opportunities for you as an individual to either course correct or learn a new skill that will get your foot in the door. And I think cloud, there's still a lot of space in the cloud sector to be really able to get your foot in the door. Now, before I get into what I wanted to talk about, it's more about understanding the cloud architectures, the well-architected frameworks, what's available to you for you to learn from each of the big three cloud providers. I'm not going to talk about Oracle. I'm not going to talk about IBM or Salesforce or things like that, or Alibaba. I'm going to talk about Amazon. I'm going to talk about Microsoft. I'm going to talk about Google. But I think before you understand the architected framework, the well-architected framework, you have to understand what the cloud is. And if you've been an on-premises person for your entire career, the cloud is just a data center in somebody else's building. And you don't have as much control, and there are things you don't have to worry about anymore. And I'm seeing this now because I still live on both sides of the fence because I have my infrastructure world and the colleagues that I work with there, and I still work with them. And I obviously have the cloud folks. So we're going through a data center migration now, and there are things that you have to worry about. You have to worry about the location. You have to worry about the rack space in the colo, power consumptions. There's a whole list of things that once you go to the cloud, you don't have to worry about anymore. But the one thing that you need to understand about the cloud, and I think as you make this transition into the cloud, the biggest thing that you need to understand and you need to convey to your leadership, to the application developers, to the data engineers, the biggest thing that you need to focus on is cost optimization. And that's key here. You need to ensure that the crap that you put into the cloud isn't the same crap that you spent $2 million on in 2020 and you're just moving it up here. Because that $2 million that you spent in 2020 was a fixed cost over the course of what X amount of times, let's say 3 years. Your servers, your things like that. People that don't have that knowledge about, we spent this much, so it's not going to be as expensive up here, really don't understand what the cloud is. And I'm seeing that. Now, the other thing you have to understand is you're going to be enticed by the various vendors, depending on how large your organization is. You're going to be enticed by the various vendors to bring your systems into the cloud. The biggest one is Microsoft. Say, hey, you're running legacy Windows Server operating systems that are no longer supported. Bring them up to the cloud. We got you covered. We'll still support you. Bring them up to the cloud. We'll give you a discount. Bring them up to the cloud. Hey, all those SQL licenses, again, depending on your contract and your agreement with the organization, for every SQL CPU license that you have, I forgot what they quoted, we'll give you 2 in the cloud, 2 virtuals in the cloud. Ooh. So now I have 300. You mean I can get 600 SQL servers in the cloud? Yeah, just bring them up. Just bring them. They're enticing you to come into the cloud. Your upfront costs will be lower, but Microsoft's playing 4D chess. Microsoft's saying, yeah, bring them up. I'll give you these discounts. Once those discounts are over, boom, I'm going to slap you in the ass and say, oh, whoa. Remember that little taste I gave you? The little sprinkle? Now you owe me, buddy. You got to pay up. Oh, you should have known that it was going to cost this much after so many years, right? They're hoping that you move that stuff over and really lock yourself in because you can't come back down. Because once you're on the Microsoft teat or the Amazon teat or the Google teat, it's going to be very difficult to come down. So cost optimization is going to be really key for you in understanding how you can leverage these services in the cloud without breaking the bank. And I've talked about this before. The best way for you to understand this is to build shit in the cloud with your own money. Chuck, I don't have any money. Perfect. Put your fucking credit card up there on every single cloud provider and start creating shit. Put those building alarms in there. Understand how much things cost, right? There's a bunch of different pricing calculators out there. Understand that. Now, this wasn't meant to be a show on FinOps, right? I may do that, but I'm not well versed in it. I'm learning. There's this woman I work with who's very, very well versed in it. I may actually ask her to come on and talk through it, but that's neither here nor there. If you understand how much it costs to run something in the cloud, when you go to your organization, that'll be in the back of your mind. Well, they have millions of dollars stuff. That doesn't matter, man. It's all about ensuring that we optimize the services in the cloud for the bottom line. That's essentially what it is. Finance is going to come to you if you get to the certain level. Finance is going to come to you. It's like, how much did we spend in AWS this month? Are you fucking kidding me? Can we lower that cost somehow? And depending on the size of your organization, or depending on how your organization is run, you're on the phone with the business, with the line of business. Like, hey, how much did you make on this product? We spent $2 million on the cloud, and you made $2.5 million on this product. We need to cut costs in the cloud. Let's figure something out. Or, hey, I made, how much did you make on this product? Oh, 42 million, and we spent 2 million on the cloud. Yeah, that probably isn't so bad, right? So those are the things when you get into the cloud. Don't only focus on the architecture and the technologies and the services and things like that. Yes, all that's great. It's there for the company to leverage, but focus on cost optimization and to make your products more efficient running in the cloud. That's the purpose of the cloud. We couldn't do that on premises for the most part. I mean, some organizations did that, but it's becoming cost inefficient at this point, right? Because everybody's talking about CapEx and OpEx. There's a lot more tax breaks and OpEx and things like that. That's beyond the scope of this, but we can talk through it if you're interested. But I think for the most part, as you make your transition to the cloud, if you're not there, or even if you're there and you're just kind of feeling like you're lost and you don't understand how to move ahead, understand cost optimization, understand how to read the invoices from these cloud providers. I've been fooling around with the Microsoft FinOps toolkit. Install that and read through those CSV files, create pivot tables, create dashboards. This is how you progress, because you're showing the value to your organization. And if you don't know what any of that means, let me know and we'll talk through it. I'll show you some of the things I've been doing. I can't use the data that I use at work, and I don't have enough data in my own deployments, but understand that you need to focus on cost optimization and efficiencies within the cloud, so you don't go from spending $20 million a year over 5 years. So you spent $100 million on a set of hardware back in 2020 that you're going to have to renew in 2025. So break it down by 20 million a year, and you don't go to the cloud spending $40 million a year. You're effectively doubling. Yes, it's OpEx, but you're still spending $40 million. So understand that. And the second principle you need to understand is, and how you get to cost optimization is understanding how each cloud provider, CSP, cloud service provider, recommends how they architect things. Now, for the most part, most cloud providers have been around since at least 2006. We'll start with AWS. They were there before, but I think when it was made to the public, it was 2006. Google, I think, was 2008. Microsoft was, I think, maybe 2010. And I'm thinking about BPOS, right? Business Productivity Online Services, so maybe even before that. And that was just the SaaS offerings for messaging. Azure, I think, came out a little bit later. Don't quote me. You know what? I'm gonna have to look it up, because now it's bothering me. So when was Azure released to the public? And I know my keyboard sucks for everybody. 2010. Yeah, I knew it was 2010. But AWS was 2006, GCP, Google was 2008, um, and then Azure was 2010. So when you talk about cost optimization and efficiencies, these guys have been doing it for at least nearly 20 years. Let's call it 18 at this point. And they know what they're doing. Yes, it's their own stuff, but remember, there are different departments within Microsoft and AWS and things like that that all get billed at certain levels. So when Amazon is spending $90 million a month on their own cloud services, somebody's gonna be like, why? Right? And then they get the architecture team and they're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this stupid shit? So things like that. So understanding how things are architected is going to be key across all cloud providers. Now, if you're on your journey for being multi-cloud certified, I applaud you. I am as well. I have my AWS associates last year, beginning of last year, a year ago today, January. I got my CISSP. I'm also going to, I'm going through the Google Architect training right now. And I'll go back to Azure once I'm done with Google. But one thing to understand is that each of the organizations, each of the entities that you're looking at will have well-architected framework for each of their platforms. So if I look at AWS, and I look at their AWS Architecture Center, they have a bunch of different options for you. So you can look at different patterns, you can look at different reference architecture diagrams, different solutions. There's also guidance. Here's guidance for deployment on things. Anything you could think of is probably here, unless it's something relatively new. So there are a lot of things here and you can spend days upon days, weeks on looking at different things. There's a cloud adoption framework. There's nothing there. Really? Oh, because I have technical guidance set up. So there's a cloud adoption framework for security, for artificial intelligence. There's a whole bunch of things. So if you're going into your journey on the cloud, this is where you should start. So this is AWS. I also have Microsoft. Learn.microsoft.com is going to be a resource for anything and everything. Now, the problem with Microsoft is they tend not to keep these things as updated as we would like. But hey, it's Microsoft. And then obviously, where's Google? So Google had this, and I'm actually missing. Oh no, I'm not. So Google has this is Azure. Sorry, I had this set up and then I got discombobulated. So now here's the Google Cloud Architecture Framework, right? So if we go back to AWS because it's the most popular, or it has been for the longest time. Now Microsoft is taking a big chunk of that right now. If we go back into here and I look at some of the different patterns available, if I uncheck things, you can look at anything that's anything that you want within the AWS framework. So if I look at something that I picked here before, simplifying Amazon EKS multi-tenant application deployment by using Flux, right? It's right here. Well, what the hell is EKS? And I may have said AKS because I was in the Azure frame of mind because we're working on that at work. But EKS Kubernetes, AKS Kubernetes, GKE Kubernetes. So just Kubernetes. Anything with a K in it is probably Kubernetes. What's Kubernetes? Containerization, Docker, right? Things like that. So this actually walks you through their deployment model, their recommendations. And if you're learning, you can follow this in your own account, in your own AWS account. You can do this. 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 You'll obviously need to know a few of these things. What's Terraform? What's Helm, kubectl, right? And then the good thing here is that they actually give you architecture diagrams. And this helps you understand a lot of things that I've come in contact to over the past year has been, hey, we want to deploy this in Azure. Give me an Azure subscription. It's like, sure, but what are you going to do with it? Well, we're doing this, this, and this. Yeah, do you have a diagram to show us like what it's going to look like so we can make sure that we give you exactly what you're looking for, that we don't limit you? Because a lot of times we're limited in the IP space that we can allocate to you, right? Because we're running out of /19s and things like that. So like, well, we don't have one. That's a problem, right? So again, as you progress in your career, you want to be able to ask questions to the various folks that are asking or making requests from you, and that's going to be key. And I always tell my team this: ask questions. Always ask questions. If you don't understand something, ask questions. If you think you understand something, just say, hey, just let me restate what you said just so I make sure we're on the same page. That's what I always use. And then I say what I say. And like, no, not really. And you clarify things. Always ask questions. And this is really the common theme throughout my shows, is ensuring that I give you the tools necessary to be able to be successful in your career. So one of the tool sets is going to be to ask questions. If you don't ask questions, then are you really understanding what the problem is? Don't assume that you know what the problem is. Ask questions. Again, whether you're a help desk, whether you're a sysadmin, DevOps, DevSecOps, security engineering, cloud engineering, project manager, a manager, a director, an SVP, a COO, CIO, CEO, CISO, right? Whatever O's, CEOs, whatever, ask questions. I think if you don't fully understand what the problem is or what someone is asking of you, then you have a big missed opportunity right there. So they're going to give you an architecture diagram, right? How the pipeline works, some network architecture diagrams, compute, and then it's going to tell you the tools to use, and then some best practices and things like that. So this was one example from AWS. Here's another one: setting up multi-availability zone infrastructure for a SQL Server always on fault. What's FCI? Fault failover cluster, not fault failover cluster instances using Amazon file share services. FSX is a really cool solution. We used it to migrate away from on-premises file servers. Is it perfect? No, but I think Azure Files is going to take over FSX. I think it's a little bit better solution, more streamlined, because it's from Microsoft. But it's essentially FSX in the back end for at least Windows instances is just DFS in the back end, if you know what DFS is. Linux, I think it's Linux Luster. But I think FSX for Windows is going to be replaced by Azure Files in the future, at least in my organization. But time will tell. But anyway, if you're working with SQL Server always on, failover cluster instances, look, it gives you everything that you need here. And if you're a SQL engineer, if you're a SQL admin, and you want to understand how things work in AWS, you can leverage this. You can leverage this to build your own instances to do things. This is all about automation, right? And again, they give you a nice diagram explaining how things work. If you don't understand how things work, dig deeper into this. What is Amazon FSX for Windows File Server? What is AWS Directory Service? What's in, you'll just go through these things and understand. Look, I've said this time and time again. You have to make time for improving your skill sets. You spend an hour a day, 7 days a week, right? 30, what is that, 20? I don't know. I can't even do math. 7 times 4. I can't even do math anymore. So it's 28 hours in a month, right? And then you do 28 times 12. I can't even do math in my head. That's how dumb I am. But you get my point. By the end of the year, you'll have enough knowledge that may surpass some folks within your organization. So definitely leverage these reference architectures. And I want to go through the Microsoft one as well, because there's a lot of misconception out there. It's like, oh, I have to buy training from Pluralsight or maybe a Cloud Guru or Cloud Ninjas or Ninjas for Hire or what's the other one? Um, oh, what the hell's the other one? Masterminds, not Masterminds. What the hell is that? Um, you know what I mean? Like superdupermasters.com. Um, to learn something, because I'm an idiot and I can't read. So I have to buy something, but I don't have enough money to buy something. You don't have to buy something. You go to these sites, and it was just a quick search: AWS well architected framework, Microsoft well architected framework, Google well architected framework, and it will bring you to these pages. Do not fear the unknown. Go head first into it and start deep diving, reading, taking notes. I've said this before and I'm going to give it a props again. This is not sponsored by this company, but Otter.ai. I've been using it more and more. I bought the business plan last year. I had not used it as much last year, but this year it's taken off because I can't be everywhere at once. I had signed up for a LinkedIn um, webinar about AI API security. I completely forgot it was today. I was so focused on this OBS issue. Otter AI, I guess, joined the webinar on my behalf and recorded the entire thing. Oh man, I wish I could show you on my computer, but I don't have it set up here. Um, but literally, it's right here. The state of API security. It's all here. Oops, it's all here. The state of API security. Even like the the screenshots and things like that. So now I I can just go through here and listen to it. It summarized it for me so I can look at the key points. I click on the key points that I want to click on and it'll replay. I didn't even know it did this, okay? Because it's integrated into my Google Calendar, my LLC's Google Calendar, it joined that webinar for me, recorded it, and summarized it for me. And it said, "Hey, by the way, your notes are ready." I'm like, "What?" So if you want to not take notes and you just want to record your voice, which I do a lot, because sometimes when you're typing, and as I get older, my brain and hands don't work at the same speed anymore. My hands are a lot slower than my brain. I'll leverage Otter just to start doing voice notes. So as I'm reading something, I was like, oh, action, look into blah, 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 blah. Right. And then Otter AI will summarize it. It'll take key takeaways and things like that. So Otter.ai, I know there are other things out there. You use the Notes app on your iOS device or Google, but that's neither here nor there. So cloud design patterns are also available in Azure. A few things that I picked up here: static content hosting patterns, right? Talk about web applications. And I actually do this in AWS using Terraform to deploy that. And I'll get to Terraform in a second and some of the things I'm learning about Terraform and GitHub Actions. But it'll talk to you about how to do this pattern for static content, and it'll give you some examples and things like that. So if you're looking to again learn how to deploy a static website, it's on Azure. Excuse me, it's right here. It even gives you some code in XML, C#, right, and HTML to do that, and it gives you some examples. So if we go here, it'll say here, and where's it go? It goes to GitHub, and it gives you everything that you need to know from here, right? So there are things here. So again, Microsoft has things. There's an event source pattern. Excuse me. Um, you know, most applications work with data, right? Um, CRUD, things like that. So you have the ability to learn various things. And then lastly, if you go into Google, right? Every CSP approaches it differently, but it's essentially the same thing. And one of the things you'll notice here, at least on the Google side, it shows cost optimization, and because they're really touting cost optimization here, um, as part of being a cloud architect, as part of being cloud engineer and cloud operations. So they talk through it, and here's some deployment archetypes. So I want to do not regional, I want to do multi-regional, because I think that's going to be key. You want to multi-regional, right? So you have your DNS, region A, region B, and this is again, right? It's some of their patterns that they can do, and you got high availability, low latency, and design considerations. Here's a reference architecture for multi-regional deployment on compute, right, and a compute engine, which it's all there for you. It's all there for you, and that's going to be key. So again, as you're going through your cloud journey, start with one, learn it, understand it. You don't have to be an expert at everything in there. You just really have to understand how things are architected and the services that are run. You're not going to know every single service. For the exam, you're going to need to know a lot of those services, for the most part at a high level. And then as you progress, you're going to have to know more and more about each service. But you're not going to have to go in depth into some of these services. You're going to have to focus more on things more about VPCs, more about EC2s, and that's for AWS. More about the data storage, more about the compute, load balancing, and things like that. Anything that needs to support an application, you're going to need to know about. Then there are specialty certifications that you'll need to understand, but really focus on the core, on how to support the other services that will help build your application. And that's going to be the key. Understand that. My recommendation to you is, if you don't have any cloud certs, start with the fundamentals, the foundationals, right? AWS Cloud Practitioner, Azure Foundations, and then the Google one is Cloud Essentials. I think is Google. It's just called Cloud Essentials. Once you get all those three, then pick one to move up to the next level. Azure is a little bit trickier because they make you take the Azure Administrator exam and then the designing exam to be a solutions architect in Azure. AWS is just the associate exam, right? There's also the DevOps admin and stuff like that. I personally feel like if you're not going to be operations, right, or engineering, I think you'll be fine with the associates exam, or the Azure admin exam, or the associated exam on the Google side. Pick one and go that route. Once you pick one, see if you want to do another one within that same level. If you don't, what I'm doing is I'm actually going right to the architect certification in Google, because that's the immediate need for my career, for my profession. For my organization. That's gonna be key. Then to wrap it all up, once you understand that, right, and in terms of your path, in parallel, you're going to need to know Terraform. And in addition to Terraform, you're going to need to understand how you can, not only Terraform, you're going to need to know Git, right? And then understand how you can leverage GitHub Actions to deploy your Terraform plans into the cloud provider of your choice. In this case, it's Azure, right? So I have a GitHub repo, I have a branch, I have a pull request, right? I have a GitHub action to test and plan my deployment. There's going to be an approval process, which I started doing with our GCP consultants. Not only me, but my team. But it's good to get into that habit, right? And I said, I don't want to be hands on keyboard a lot, but I'm being forced to. So it's really good to see the changes in code, the changes in our repos, and ensure asking questions, right? And then GitHub Actions will deploy the plan for you. It'll also destroy it. Again, all Terraform terminology, but learn Terraform. Let me go back here. Learn Terraform. There's a bunch of reference architectures for AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, even VMware. So if you're in still on-premises world or VMware hybrid, learn Terraform. Some of you may know Ansible and things like that, but Terraform complements Ansible. So that's another way of looking at it, right? Now I know Terraform is kind of highly contested right now because they got rid of their open source platform and things like that. But if you're an organization that leverages Terraform Enterprise or Terraform Cloud, look at that. Obviously, you too should get a Terraform Cloud account. It's free for up to 5 Think workspaces. GitHub is free, obviously, so you can leverage GitHub Actions into any of these cloud service providers, right? So that's something that I think should be a no-brainer until obviously there's another solution. But I think Terraform is going to be around for a while because it's widely used and it's hard to pivot from that. So I think they're going to be around for a while. I could be wrong, especially after this open source debacle, but definitely learn Terraform to be able to deploy some of these patterns into the various cloud providers, and it'll talk you through how to do some of this stuff, right? So I think for the most part, the focus on your multi-cloud journey should be pick one, get to at least the associate level of understanding, move to another one, get to the associate level of understanding. If you want to stick with 2, that's fine. If you want to go with 3, then you're covered with the 3 levels. 3 cloud providers at the associate level, and then you can either go up to the more advanced level. AWS calls it professional. Microsoft calls it engineer, architect. I don't even know. And Google calls it architect, Google Cloud Architect. Then those are the high levels. Some other people say get to the associate level, then take specialty exams off the base of that. Those specialty exams may actually require you to know some of the more advanced functionality of the cloud service provider. So that's why I always say do the associate, then pick one and go to the professional level, and see what you can do. I think for the most part, it's definitely a multi-year journey. If you're a psycho, like some people are, and you want to knock it out all in 1 year, you can do that, but expect not to have any fun, unless you think this is fun. Expect not to have a social life, because it does require you to focus and dedicate your time. I know when I did the CISSP, it was rough because I was also doing some master's courses at the same time, which I'm a psycho, but I did it, right? And I will finish my master's in the next week or 2. Yeah, probably in the next week or 2, hopefully. And I'll actually do a video just like I did for the MBA. I will do a WGU, Masters of Science of Management and Leadership, and just talk you through some of my experiences with that. I think it's going to be the next episode, but we'll see. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope that you really took some insight from this. social-media@theitxp.com. It's really helpful for me to read emails as opposed to doing DMs or things like that. While I am on social media, I tend not to use it as much because my focus this year is really on creating content and also expanding my knowledge across Google Cloud, and then going back to Azure. I had intended on taking the CISM exam this year, but I decided to postpone that indefinitely because I wanted to focus on this cloud career, because I think the next iteration to this for me probably would be cloud security, if not risk. I may go into risk because, again, I'm old and ageism is a motherfucker. So yeah, ageism is real. So all you young kids out there saying this old fart doesn't know a thing or two, you're probably right, but I can tell you I can help you navigate through corporate America if you allow me. And that's what the purpose of this is, right? Help you navigate corporate America. I'm going to give you kind of some breadcrumbs on technology and the ways I would approach things, but throughout um, my conversation of these various technologies, I may give you insights on how you can approach certain scenarios. And that's really what the focus of the show is. Everybody has their own experiences in corporate America. I'm just giving you mine. So thank you for listening. And I will hopefully, if this works, hopefully, um, come back to this platform. We'll see. Again, this is Riverside.fm, and you're watching the ITXP Season 10, The Multi-Cloud Journey. Take care.